absolutely one of the most intriguing characters is Darth Maul. He's just a gold mine if you really want to get into a case of like some nuttiness there. This isn't just a snarling Sith Lord with tattoos and a double bladed saber. This is weaponized trauma. This is fractured identity, and this is the consequences of being forged into something rather than growing into someone. And there's a lot of deep framework here, like what goes on with Maul. Like this is raw. Like this is his core trauma is this engineered identity that he has. He was not born, he was built, and from childhood he was conditioned by even those around him and then Sidious to abandon his individual nature, empathy, any sense of autonomy. His entire sense of self was stripped away and replaced with one goal, and this was servitude. So from a psychoanalytical error or angle, his trauma mirrors what Freud called the ego death under domination, when a child's developing psyche is hijacked and reprogrammed entirely by external authority. This explains why he's almost got this feral intensity. He's almost wild because Maul doesn't truly know who he is outside of Sidious's design. Like, just think of that concept that everything about you has been defined by this person the way they defined you. So he operates always under this almost like shadow identity, like this embodiment of raw instinct and revenge, qualities that most people really kind of suppress. But beneath this mask, you see his, fragmentation. Like in the Clone Wars, we see him broken, half mad after his defeat. We see how fragile his construction was. This spider-like body and this incoherent rambling, like represented it was a psychic like disintegration of who he was. He lost the narrative and the sense of who Darth Maul was because his mission and success had always defined him. He was his perfect weapon. After his death in the Phantom Menace, you see his psychology gets defined by a whole different set of emotions for Obi-Wan. This isn't just hate, it's an existential hunger. Obi-Wan represents for him humiliation in that he was defeated by him. He was a failure of purpose because he was failing Darth Sidious, who defined him. It's a loss of his identity. If he was not the perfect Sith weapon, then what the hell? What is he? What else do you have? So in those terms, he's at a hierarchy of a character that he can't fully integrate these other parts of himself, the defeat, the massive scale, however he wants to integrate. And he can't grow until he resolves his fixation, which he never does, right? So that becomes the downfall. And at the end of it, his interactions throughout, even in the Rebel series, show that he does have a yearning for connection with Ezra Bridger, right? It shows that he wants, but he doesn't know how to form it. He tries to shape, Ezra in the way that Sidious had shaped him. And beneath all this manipulation is this desperate desire to not be alone. It's a tragic, he's conditioned not only to not understand relationships as only defined through power and subjugation. He craves this kinship, but he can't, figure out how structures work in any other way. So by his final end, right, it's reached this level, this emotional level, that to me it got quiet. It felt almost kind of zen-like. It wasn't that long, but he did something. Obi-Wan kind of gave him something in this where he kind of recognized his humanity, right? And he gave it to him. And Maul's final words is he the chosen one. We saw a small glimpse of what that once that Sith mask fell off. We saw a human underneath that from that standpoint of being a child prior to all this happening. And this was more of a release. It felt like more of a release. So he's, far less of a villain and more of this very complex, psychological experiment. That's the only way we can define it. When you take a child, a youngling like that, and this idea of erasing what they are, what their instincts are, and replacing it wholeheartedly, man, that's programming on a whole nother level. And we'll talk about Sidious, and man, that's the right word for that dude, man. That's the perfect name, because truly he was that. Anyway, give me your thoughts on this kind of breakdown of Maul. I'm going to get into some other characters. Let me know who you want to hear me talk about in the comment section.